Hi everyone. So this is my very last book that I'm going to read this year, and this is take 3. Unfortunately, in take 1, I don't know if you heard, but we got a new cat. She decided to make an appearance and it made it very distracting, so I had to try again. And during take 2, the phone rang and it totally ruined everything. So we're gonna do take 3, and I'm just gonna keep going no matter what happens, so wish me luck. It is our Stranger Safety Week, and so I am going to read The Berenstain Bears Learn About Strangers. This is a book I read to kindergartners every year, and I think it's a really good introduction to how to be safe around strangers, and it also gives kids a really good guidelines on how to keep themselves safe. So, The Berenstain Bears Learn About Strangers. This is a long one, so here we go. Brother and Sister Bear, who lived with their mama and papa in the big tree house down a sunny dirt road deep in bear country, looked quite a lot alike. Except for the fact that Brother was a boy cub and Sister was a girl cub, they were alike in many ways. And even though they each had hobbies, they enjoyed many of the same things: bike riding, baseball, soccer, frisbee, and just getting out and enjoying nature. As I was saying, we have a new cat. I don't know if you just saw her, but hopefully she'll get it out of her system. But we're going to keep going. So there's Brother and Sister Bear, and they look an awful lot alike. Yes, Brother and Sister were alike in many ways, but in some important ways, they were different. Brother Bear was cautious and careful and a little wary of strangers. That means kind of nervous around strangers, not feeling totally comfortable. Sister, on the other hand, wasn't the least bit wary. She was friendly to a fault. Just about everybody that came her way got a big hello. Hello, Butterfly. Hello, Frog. Hello, Mr. Truck Driver. Hello, Mrs. Shopper. So if I was in your kindergarten class, I would ask you, raise your hand if you're a little wary, a little nervous around strangers like Brother Bear. And then I'd have you raise your hand if you are super friendly to everyone you meet. Okay, so they're different in that way. Brother worried about Sister's free and easy way with strangers. Strangers weren't a problem for him. Not talking to strangers suited cautious and careful Brother just fine. But friendly to a fault Sister was different. She talked to everybody. Hello, hi, hello. Sister, said Brother, you're going to have to stop that. Stop what? She asked. Talking to strangers. It's just not a good idea. Why? She wanted to know. Why shouldn't I talk to strangers? What harm is there in it? Is there something wrong with strangers? Said Brother, thinking about it for a moment. Those aren't questions for a brother. Those are questions for a mama or a papa. Sister Bear, I'm glad you asked those questions, said Papa Bear in his deepest and most serious voice. The reason you should never talk to a stranger and never ever take presents from a stranger and never ever ever go anywhere with a stranger is that it's dangerous. What's dangerous about it? She asked wide-eyed. What can happen? Oh dear, thought Mama Bear. There's Mama Bear. I do hope Papa can tell Sister about strangers without making everything scary. All sorts of things can happen, Papa said. Here, look at the newspaper. As she looked at it, her eyes got wider and wider. So I think Papa Bear's gonna scare her a little bit. This is what she saw. Stranger bothers cub. Chief Grizzly questions stranger. Missing cub found. Cub safety meeting. I hope you're paying attention to all this, called Papa to Brother Bear. Yes, Papa, said Brother, looking up from his airplanes. So Brother Bear is building a model airplane. So remember that for later. That comes back in the story. When Sister asked about a bedtime story that evening, Papa said, of course, I have just the one. It was an old book that Papa had kept since he was a cub. The story was called Silly Goose and Wiley Fox. Wiley means like crafty or sneaky. It told how Silly Goose got into a conversation with Wiley Fox, and before Silly quite knew what was happening, she found herself in Wiley's lair. So if in kindergarten I ask, what's a lair? And kindergartners can usually tell me that's where a fox lives. That's the fox's home. This is how the story ended. And there was a snip and a snap, and all that was left of Silly Goose was a few floating feathers and a smile on the face of Wiley Fox. Uh-oh. So Wiley Fox ate Silly Goose. Sister had a hard time falling asleep that night. Her mind was filled with those headlines. There was even one that said, "Silly Goose missing, Wiley Fox question." The sound of Brother Bear's peaceful breathing finally lulled her to sleep. So in class, what I do is I ask kids, when you have all these things going on in your head, what helps you fall asleep? Sister Bear listens to her brother's breathing, and that helps calm her body down. And oftentimes kids will say, I hug a stuffed animal. Sometimes kids will say, I listen to music. I ask mom and dad to tuck me in again or give me a hug. Some kids do deep breathing and help calm their body down. So there's lots of strategies for helping yourself fall asleep when you're having a hard time. But Sister had a hard time going to sleep because I think Papa Bear scared her a little bit. The next day dawned bright and friendly to everybody but Sister. She had spent a restless night, and when she looked out the window, everything seemed a little strange. The trees seemed to reach for her. The owls stared at her, and the crows glared. So everything looks, because of her imagination, everything looks a little bit scary outside. "Let's go out and ride our bikes on the village green," said Brother after breakfast, but Sister didn't want to. Brother was puzzled. The green was a bright, busy, friendly place where she loved to play. And I always ask kids, why do you think Sister Bear doesn't want to go out? And they usually say, because she's afraid of strangers. She thinks somebody's going to hurt her. Well, how about soccer? But she didn't want to do that either. It wasn't until she suggested Frisbee, her favorite game, that she agreed to go along. And so Mama Bear looks a little worried. She's wondering, why is Sister Bear not wanting to go play? It's her favorite thing to do. Before they left, they told Mama where they'd be. It was a family rule that they never went anywhere without telling Mama or Papa. Is that a really good family rule? I hope that's your rule at home, that even if you're playing in the backyard, you let Mom and Dad know where you are. And if you move to another spot, you let them know. So if they ever need to find you, they know right where you are. That's a good way to stay safe. "That's fine," said Mama. "I'm on my way to Farmer Ben's for apples. I'll stop by for you on the way home." The village green was the same bustling place it had always been. This is what it looked like to everyone but Sister. So if you look at the top part, that's what it looks like to everyone else. Everybody's happy and smiling and just going about their day and having a good time. And if you look at the bottom is what it looked like to Sister. Today, even the frogs and butterflies seem mean and scary. So if you look close at the balloons and the frogs and the butterflies, you can see that she's feeling everything looks scary. Later, when somebody tapped her on the shoulder, she jumped a mile, even though it was just Mama. "How is everything at the village green?" asked Mama on the way home in the car. "All right, I guess," said Sister, "but there were so many strangers." Later at home, when Mama and Sister were getting ready to make applesauce, Mama said, "You know, what Papa told you was quite right. It's not a good idea to talk to strangers or accept presents or rides from them. But," she continued, "that doesn't mean that all strangers are bad. Why, chances are there wasn't a single person on that green that would harm a fly, much less a fine little cub like you. The trouble is, well, it's like with this barrel of apples." So see, Mama picked up a bunch of apples in a barrel. So there's a lot of apples in there. It's like with this barrel of apples. There's an old saying that goes, there'll always be a couple of bad apples in every barrel. So if you buy a lot of apples, well, there'll probably be one that has bruises or one that maybe has a worm in it. That's the way it is with strangers. Cubs have to be careful because of a few bad apples. "Look," said Sister, "I found one. It's all bumpy and has a funny shape." So Sister thinks she's found a bad apple because it looks different. It looks a little bit strange. "Well, it certainly is strange looking," said Mama, "but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. You can't always tell from the outside which are the bad apples." So what Mama is saying is she's not just talking about apples, she's talking about people. People can look different on the outside and be very kind, wonderful people. I want you to think a minute. Have I ever, when I first met somebody, they made me a little bit nervous or I thought they seemed really different, and as I got to know them, I realized they were a really nice person? So you can't always tell from the outside of what's inside someone's heart. She cut the apple in half. See, she said, it's fine inside. So the one sister thought looked bad was actually a good apple. Now here's one that looks fine on the outside. So look at that apple. That looks like a good, nice, shiny, good eating apple. But inside it's all wormy. Oh, look at the inside of that apple. That's yucky. Ugh, said sister. So what Mama is saying is she's not really talking about apples. She's talking about people. Somebody can look like a really nice, kind person, but you can't tell what's in their heart. And that's the point of being safe with strangers. You can't tell who a good stranger is and who a bad stranger is by the outside. That's for grown-ups to do. And so you're safe with all strangers, even though most strangers are really kind people who care about kids. What's up? Asked brother. A bad apple, said sister. Yuck, said brother. Hey, I'm going to the meadow to fly my new pusher plane. Want to come? Sure, sister said. I can pick some wildflowers. She felt much better now, more like her old friendly self. So she realizes that strangers don't mean everyone's bad. It just means she has to be careful with everyone. The pusher plane was a great success, and the cubs were about to head home when someone drove onto the meadow with a big, beautiful orange and green model airplane. Wait, said brother, I want to watch. It's a radio-controlled airplane. So there's the airplane, and brother really likes model airplanes, so he's pretty excited. Sister went back to picking wildflowers, but before she knew it, brother was talking to the stranger. For that's what he was, a stranger, no matter how big and beautiful his radio-controlled airplane was. Uh-oh, she dropped her wildflowers and ran over to them. I'm going to send it up and follow along in the car, the stranger was saying. Want to come along? Wow, said brother, and he would have gotten into the stranger's car if sister hadn't grabbed his arm and said, don't you dare. The stranger drove off following his airplane, and sister ran home shouting, brother, talk to a stranger! Brother, talk to a stranger! But it was a big orange and green radio-controlled plane, said brother. That doesn't matter, said Papa. We have rules about strangers, and they're important. We have rules about tattletales, too, said brother, glaring at sister. And I always stop there and I ask the kids, was sister tattling? Remember, tattling is when it's a little problem and you don't need help, or you're just trying to get someone in trouble. And I don't know. What do you think? Was she tattling, or was that a time to tell? Think about it for a second. And let's see if you're right. Sister wasn't tattling. Tattling is telling just to be mean, explained Mama, and sister was telling because she loves you and was worried. Do you think that fellow was a bad apple? Asked brother. Probably not, said Mama. That's right, said sister. Most folks are friendly and nice and wouldn't hurt a fly, but you have to be careful, just in case. Speaking of apples, said Mama, how about some of this applesauce I made? As they sat having a dish of Mama's delicious applesauce, brother and sister thought about what they had learned that day. There was quite a lot to think about. So on the next page, it's Brother and Sister's Bears Rules for Cubs. So these are the stranger safety rules that are really important to follow. And I always add something to the first 3 rules. And I always add, unless Mom or Dad say it's okay. Because you're the grown-up who's in charge of you, it's their job to decide if a stranger is safe or not. So you never have to worry about deciding for yourself. You always just rely on that grown-up that's with you or your big brother or sister to let you know whether it's a safe situation. So rule number 1 is never talk to a stranger unless Mom or Dad say it's okay. Rule number 2, never take candy or gifts from a stranger unless Mom or Dad say it's okay. Because I bet a lot of you have gone to Costco with Mom and Dad, and you often take samples from a stranger, but you do that because Mom and Dad say it's okay. And they have a rule at those places. They don't let kids just come up and take food. They have to get permission from their parents, and that's because they're being safe for all kids. Rule number 3, never go anywhere with a stranger unless Mom or Dad say it's okay. Maybe the first time you met a babysitter, they were a stranger, but if Mom and Dad said it's okay to go with them, then it's okay. Number 4, Don't keep secrets from your parents, especially if someone asks you to. And I always talk about the difference between a good secret and a bad secret in class with kids. Good secrets are secrets you're keeping because you want to surprise someone. So let's say you were going to surprise mom with a special present for her birthday. That would be a good secret to keep. You would talk with dad about it, maybe your brothers and sisters. That's a good secret. A bad secret is if somebody else is asking you to do something that either makes you uncomfortable or you know is against the rules and they say don't tell mom or dad. That's a bad secret and you should always let somebody know. And rule number 5, your body is your own personal property and nobody else's business, especially your private parts. Remember, your private parts are what your bathing suit covers. When you're little, of course, your mama or papa may need to help you with the bath or in the bathroom, and your doctor is in the body business. And so they have to examine you from time to time. And I know that's embarrassing when you go to the doctor and they have to check you, but that's to help keep you safe too. So that's okay. But other people should not ever be asking to touch or look at your private parts or showing them their private parts. And so that's something to let a trusted adult know right away. And rule number 6, use your common sense. We can't have rules for everything. Common sense is what keeps us safe by telling us what to do in situations that aren't covered by rules. So common sense is that little feeling you get in your stomach or that little thought in your head that says, this doesn't feel right. If you ever feel that feeling, I want you to get to a safe adult right away and tell them what happened. Even if you feel like it's silly or you're not sure why it felt wrong, common sense, trust that. That's kind of trusting your gut. Let somebody know because you're going to keep yourself safe. So big important rules are if you always follow the stranger safety rules. You don't talk to strangers, go places with strangers, or take things from them without permission from mom or dad. You are going to keep yourself safe. And the big rule to remember is most people are kind, wonderful, loving people, but you can't tell by looking on the outside. And so we're safe with everyone. So that's our stranger safety lesson for today. I hope you have a fantastic summer. Follow those safety rules, and I can't wait to see everybody next year. Bye-bye.